Hello, gossipers, and welcome to Gossip in the Dark with Sharona. Now, this video is about life, what's going on in life, the news that we're hearing when it comes to people, everyday people like you and me going out to enjoy themselves, only not to return home to their loved one and families. So we're gonna hit on three stories that it's just sad, and you wonder what's going on in this world, what's going on in the country. I live in America, so we're gonna start out with the nightclub in the Dominican Republic. And it's sad to see that you go out to have fun with your friends or family. You go out to meet new people. You go out for the stress to de stress from that day of life, or whatever situation you might have going on. You're like, this is a moment for me to go out, have fun, enjoy. And then you go to this nightclub again for all the fun, drinking, chatting, meeting new people, so forth, only to have it end your life if you're one of the unfortunate souls. And I just can't imagine, you know, nowadays going to an arena or an event, and that is on the back of your mind. Like, how is this set up? Are the codes, the building codes, are they updated? What's going on? So we're gonna do this article, and it's from CNN. I think all three stories are from CNN, because I'm the kind of person, when I give my news, I like to give credit to the source, because I'm not a journalist, I'm not there. So of course, what does everybody do? They have to read from an article, right? But then when you're done reading, that's where you come in with your take on what you think the situation is, or could have been, or should have been. So it says nightclub, roof collapse kills at least 184 people in the Dominican Republic, including former MLB players. So the last I heard, it was about 300 now confirmed dead. And yeah, so it says nearly 200 people were killed in the Dominican Republic after the roof of an iconic nightclub collapsed in what has become one of the country's deadliest tragedies in decades. Now, this is an iconic nightclub. A lot of times when you hear like iconic on buildings, it's like you want to keep the structure the way it is, right? Because that's how people see it, that's how they know it. You don't want to make changes to anything, because if you make changes, then it's new, right? So, but even with that being said, no matter how iconic it is, if it's been there for years, you will have to make changes to prevent situations like this. So, some people are saying, were the building codes up to par? Because if it was, and it was, detected, then it would have been locked down, and then changes could have made to keep it leveled, keep it stronger, stuff like this. And the thing is, people, we don't know. No one knows what the future holds. No one knows what a minute or two holds. And that's the thing about life. You can't fake it. You can't fake it or predict when things is going to happen. Yes, you have these psychics and mediums out there who are talking, telling people this and that, but you just don't know. When it's your time, it's your time. Whatever God you believe in, when He calls your name, you're going home. So now it says at least 300 people were inside. What? At least 300, and now they're saying 200. I know earlier I said 300, but I guess it was 300 inside, but 200 dead. So that's more than 50% of. And then again, we don't know what was the capacity. How many people are allowed? Because money is the root of all evil, as they would say. Now, if it's only supposed to be 200 people, But because people want to come in and they want to pay the money, it's like you turn a blind eye, and like, no, man, we can get more people in here. And that's one thing I don't like, to go into a crowded room. Oh, no, no, no. I'll be out. Or if I'm not out, what I usually do is I stay close to an exit if I had to go to anywhere that's crowded. So back to the article. And again, this is just my thoughts, my opinion, just what I see from it. It says at least 300 people were inside Jet Set nightclub early Tuesday morning in the capital of Santo Domingo when the roof collapsed around 1 a.m. during a performance of merengue artist Ruby Perez and his orchestra. Authorities said Perez's body, wow, so the entertainment died, was discovered from the scene on Wednesday morning, emergency services said. At least 184 people, including two former Major League Baseball players, were killed, according to Juan Manuel Mendez, the director of Emergency Operations Center, in an update on Wednesday. The exact number of injured is yet to be provided by officials, with Menendez saying earlier that 145 people who have been rescued on Tuesday were alive. So they were able to rescue 145. It is also unclear how many people are unaccounted for, and on Wednesday, emergency responders said they would end rescue efforts after recovering another 20 bodies from the rubble. Many bodies have yet to be identified. Wow. Wow. Aerial footage showed the venue with a wide gaping hole in the middle of the building where the audience would have been located during the performance. The cause of the roof collapse is not yet known. Desperate families were seen outside the destroyed venue on Wednesday, hoping that their loved ones would be rescued from the debris. Local news footage on Wednesday showed some searching for the names of their loved ones in lists hanging on a field hospital outside the venue, while others went from hospital to hospital in search of news. OMG. You can only imagine. That's it. You can only imagine what those people are going through, the family and the friends. And I'm going to show you pictures while I'm talking on the stories or videos so you can see. But yeah, this is sad. As I said, when you're going now to arenas or concerts or parties and things like that, you just have to be careful. And again, you don't know. No one sees, what the future holds. But it's just sad, 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 sad. And, we can only imagine. And like I said, it comes down to using the word iconic. It's like, this is a building not to be touched. But yet still, this is a building that will hold people's lives. So if it has anything to do with not being updated with the code of the building and stuff like that, then, people are going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in huge trouble if that's one of the reasons why. And, for family members who are still searching for their loved ones, I hope when they go to the hospital that their loved ones are one of those who survived, and not going to these hospitals looking and told, no, your loved one is not here. And this happened Tuesday. Today is Saturday. So right now, I think the mission would be a recovery mission of bodies and not of anyone who's still alive. Because as of today, Saturday, they're saying there's still people missing who are unaccounted for, which to me would imply that there are bodies there that needs to be recovered. And, those family members who are still looking will not get that news of your family member or your friend survived. But yes, what are your thoughts on this story? Do you think the building code might just come out as something that was not up to par? It's like is it the Notre Dame Cathedral that burnt down, but they were able to keep some of the structure on there, and then they had to, of course, rebuild, but rebuild with some of the original structure involved. And after time, they need the hands to keep them afloat, to keep them where people still can visit. So, to see a building that's like over 100 years old or this or that, it still needs to be kept updated so that tragedies like this will not occur again. Again, they haven't released what the findings are as of yet, as their main focus is just recovering people. And all we can say is thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends, and just sad in general. Now, the next story we're gonna go to is a helicopter that crashed in the Hudson River in New York City. And I am telling you, when I go on vacations, especially when I go to Orlando, we will see those helicopters, those tourist helicopters that people pay just to see a top of the city. And you're up there for probably about, what, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how much the price is. And I've said it to my mom, and she's like, nope, I will not be doing that. And I'm like, oh, I would do it. I would love to do it. Even though I'm terrified, I'm one of those people, you're terrified to do it, but you want to do it, if you get what I'm saying. And I've been to Orlando, where I went on the Orlando Eye. If you don't know what it is, it's like a giant ball with different capsules that you go stand in, probably like 12 to each capsule. Again, I'll put a picture, and it rotates very slowly, though, very slowly, but it goes as high as you would say, probably not as high as the Empire State Building, but probably like a 16-story building or a 20-story building, put it that way. And so when you go up there, I did it once in Orlando with my nephew. He was terrified. He's on the spectrum, and only because I went and I had to hold on to him, he went in there, and it was beautiful when we went on the top to look over Orlando, and you could see like some of the Disney like buildings and location and Universal, and you're like, wow, this is beautiful. For me, it would be like if I had a sofa with like a comforter or a sheet, and just lay there and watch watch the world below. That's how beautiful the scenery is. So back to the Hudson River helicopter crash. It was a family of 5. Now they're saying the father is the CEO, and they're from Spain, and it was the pilot, the father, the mom, the 3 boys, 3 kids, and they were there for one of the son's birthday. So, I don't know if I want to use the word comfort for their family and friends who are grieving them, is to see that they went in as a family and they went out as a family. It's, oh God, sad. So it says Hudson River helicopter crash, 6 dead after aircraft goes down in New York City. A family from Spain was on a sightseeing tour. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Sightseeing tour over the city when the aircraft plummeted into the water. A pilot was also killed. So, they're going to have to just like with the nightclub, they're going to have to see how to prevent situations like this. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around that. How can this billionaire go in this helicopter and all of a sudden it comes crashing down? People are talking. They're like, maybe this man did something, and as a payback he had to do this, and he didn't tell his family, and because he didn't want to go by himself, he dragged his family along, as part of the payoff. Because of this he did, just conspiracy theories just ringing rampant. So what we know so far is that 6 people, 3 adults and 3 children, died this afternoon. Died when a helicopter crashed in the Hudson River in Manhattan. And this is from ABC News. This was 2 days ago. The victims, including a family from Spain, have not been identified. I think they're identified now because I'm going to show you pictures. Also, the pilot, I think, is identified. The helicopter lost control shortly after it turned at the George Washington Bridge to move along the New Jersey shoreline, officials said. The cause is under investigation. A video on social media shows the helicopter plummeting from the sky directly into the river. And I saw that video again. I'll play it for you. I don't think I'm going to do it with sound. I'm just going to do the video because usually sometimes when you play these videos with sound, the eeriness of it just kind of engulfs you to say, oh my God, just imagine those last seconds. And let me tell you, we're talking here. This video is about talking. I usually say, God forbid I'm in a situation where it's life or death. Let's say a plane is coming down. My reaction is like, well, if the plane is going down and I know it's going down, let me look outside to see when I can jump, so I don't jump too soon to kill myself. You know what I'm saying? But in situations like this, your adrenaline, it's rushing, and sometimes you don't even know what to do. You're in shock. And I think with that's what unalives most people, is the shock of the situation happening. And with situations like this, all it takes is seconds. So when you're thinking and when you're in shock and you're just like, you're stuck, you don't know where to go, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, that's a lifetime to get something done. So for me, it's like, yes, if I see the plane is going to crash, and let them open the emergency exit, or this is a helicopter, open the door. So as soon as I see it getting close to the ground or over water, just let me jump. I'll break some bones and stuff like that, but I might save my life. Just thinking like that. I know some of you listening like, how dumb, how ridiculous. But things play through your mind when you hear incidents and you're like, if I was on there, this is what I would have done. And that's me. I would, if the doors were open, I'm like, okay, we're this far away from water. Can't jump yet, because then I can die. Let's wait until it almost hit the water. Then I can jump, and hopefully I'll survive. And hopefully if it's a crash landing on concrete land, then when I do jump out before it crashes, I don't die still, because the explosion of the crash would catch me in some way. But yes, I think stuff like that, my head works when it comes to a situation like this. But yeah, it's just sad. It said that the helicopter took off from Lower Manhattan. Data from the ABSD exchange shows it traveled north along the Hudson River and crashed while it was returning south. Now, some people were saying they see the propeller, or the thing that turns on top of the helicopter. The word is there, but it's not coming out. They were saying that those were falling apart. And they said that the winds were around 9 to 12 miles per hour, coming from the south and southeast. And the usual gust is 21 miles per hour around that time. So I'm not quite sure. They said that visibility was good. And reports are also saying that it took off at the site took off from the Wall Street heliport at 2:59 p.m. and then a minute later caught a traffic breakup after 3 p.m. So after 3 p.m., so a couple minutes after it takes off. That's what happens. Again, I'll show video and pictures. We'll not do it with the sound because to me the sound just. Whew. So right now, let me see. I know they have the name. We want to say their names to be respectful. I'm going to, let me see, hold on. The names are being withheld. So they're saying the names are being withheld at this time, pending notification. But no, I think because they released the picture, so there should be a name. Let me go and look that name up. Then I'll bring it back and let you know the names when we go on to the other, after we're done with the stories. But yes, now it's just going on vacation. You have all these excursions and you know. I remember I did an excursion once. I went on vacation. It was a cruise, and it was one of those under bottom view. You go underneath the boat to see the ocean bottom with the fishes and stuff like that. And I didn't know what I was expecting, but once you go down there and you see that it's such a small contained space, I'm claustrophobic. I have a hard time when I'm doing MRI. So just imagine going. Now, I thought, no, what was I thinking? I don't know if I was thinking, like a glass bottom boat, like you go in the boat with a glass bottom, but you sit around it and then you could look down and see the fishes while it's moving. No, but this was actually like a submarine under the boat. So you pay the money, you go on the boat, then you step down underneath the boat. So, they have to be careful because they have to make sure that the space that it's going around on the boat, there's no rocks or anything that can hit it, if you get what I'm saying. So, yes, I thought it was one of those flat glass bottom. You'll sit around it with how many guests, and then you'll just sit there, look down, not to go underneath the ocean. So this one was underneath the ocean, and I think it was like 10 people at a time. And yes, even though it was a beautiful experience, it was nerve-wracking because then you're like, what if the water pressure breaks one of the glass? And hopefully they did, after each excursion they make sure to check the vessel, so for the other parties that are coming on, it's safe. And sometimes people, they don't want to do all that work. And what they don't realize is that life is involved. Even though they tell you to buy vacation insurance and everything, if you want to, fine. But still, it will not take back from if a life is taken. And yeah, it's just sad. And, with all these conspiracy theories, they did release who the pilot is. This was a veteran who fought in the war, and he's also black, African American, I think he is. And, yeah. When more becomes available, then, we'll talk more on it. But yeah, that was in New York City, the Hudson River. And the final one we're going to talk about is a crash in Boca Raton, Florida. Now, I'm from Florida. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, and this took place in Boca Raton. So it says 3 people. Oh, this is from Travel. Like to give, shout out the source. Travel. 3 people killed after small plane crashes on busy Boca Raton street. This is from CNN, but through Travel. The Federal Aviation Administration and National Transportation Safety Board will investigate a small plane crash along a busy street and erupted in a fireball just outside the Boca Raton, Florida airport Friday morning. And that's one of the worst things, to see that your destination is right there and then you crash. Just like the plane that was coming in, thank God everyone survived. but to see that you're going in for your landing, because that's how I do it when I'm terrified of flying. I don't know if I told this story, but in when I was taking one of my many flights to the US from Jamaica, I went to the doctor and I said, can you give me something to sleep because I'm terrified of flying? And he says to me, do you believe in God? And of course I answered yes, but I had a look like, everyone might not believe in God, but I'm sure 90% of the people who lost their lives in accidents by air or land, they believe in God and they weren't saved. So your faith has to be very, very strong. And I have to drag that out, very strong. Mine was, but still, I knew. I'm not very strong in my faith. I need to be, but I'm just not. And I don't know if it's because when you see things happen to people, especially innocent, good people, you question yourself. And you question it more when it comes to babies and children. These are humans who have not experienced life to do anything to say your punishment should be death, or your punishment is going to be this disease that's going to take you home to the Lord. So sometimes you question it when situation happens, but again, it's a part of life. Nobody knows. I'm terrified of death. I'm fearful of death. And for me, what it is if I'm going to die, I want it to be sudden. I don't want to feel any pain. I don't want to feel it coming on. I don't want to have any illness to the effect where it's long drawn. So it's like you're suffering before you go, and you feel that pain and discomfort, everything like that. Now we're gonna get off of that because I don't want to go there. I'm already sad. Yeah, go back to the plane crash. So the Boca Raton mayor, Scott Singer, said, "We are deeply saddened to confirm that a plane crash occurred earlier today within our community," Boca Raton Mayor Scott Singer said in a statement. "Our thoughts are with all those affected by this tragic event. We ask for patience and respect for the families involved as investigations continue." It says the plane took off from Boca Raton about 10 a.m. and was headed to Tallahassee, official says. About 10:12 a.m., Boca Raton Fire and Police Dispatch received a call from a plane in trouble, and the aircraft crashed at 10:20 a.m., according to the LaSalle and the FAA. The aircraft apparently had some mechanical issues, the assistant fire chief said. So it took off at 10 o'clock. It was being, the dispatch got the call at 10:12 a.m. Again, like before, in this instance, you're having mechanical problems. Is there a parachute on board for you to jump out, for your passengers to jump out? Because I would like to think if you're on a plane like that and it's 3 people, you have 3 parachutes or something on there. And like with me again, with my thoughts, you're seeing it going down, open the door and jump, and hopefully. But then, this was on the street. So far, we haven't heard of anyone dying below, which is great. I think a man was injured, but no deaths to report. So either that pilot flew at a point where it would not involve anyone else, which was saving lives on his end. And it says data from Flight Radar 24 shows the craft made repeated loops around the airport before the crash. So it was making the repeated loops again, people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. That was enough for you to say to the passengers, "We're in danger. Here's a parachute. Jump." But then again, how low was it flying? Because, oh my gosh, this is too much. Too much ideas. Ideas that people might think dumb, makes no sense. You're circling, you call ahead of time. I'm having problems. Okay, go out. When people are on fire and they open up those big inflatable bounce thing, open one of those up and tell the people we're gonna go around, then we're gonna tell you to jump into that. If you know, as I said, ideas come to your mind no matter how dumb it sounds. It's like you're trying to think of situations to prevent it if you should be in that situation. And again, like I said, shock makes people not react right away. Whew, okay. Okay, so it was looping around. I heard it like zooming by a couple of times, and then, wow, a plane crash, one witness said on video posted to social media. The whole building shook, another man noted. So, you know, with that one, only the people on board lost their life. No casualties on the ground, which again could be a credit to the pilot. And yeah. So let me go ahead and find the names of the family and pilot that were in the Hudson River crash. Let me find that and then I'll post it. So we do have the names of the mom and dad and 3 kids. So they're saying his name is Augustine Escobar Canadas. He was 49. His wife was Mercy Campruvi Montal. She was 39. Victor Escobar Campruvi, he was 4. Mercedes Escobar Campruvi, he was 9. And the 3rd child is still unidentified. So the German industrial conglomerate, Siemens, previously identified Escobar as the company executive and said he died with his wife and their 3 young children. So children were 4 and 9, but why can't they identify the 3rd child? It's a beautiful family. You're gonna see the picture. I'm going through, so just bear with me. I'm looking. You want to give respect to these people. Also, it was not 3 boys. It looked like it was 2 boys and a girl. Yes, because when I said the name Mercedes, I said most likely. Wow. Where is the name? You know what? I'm going to wrap this up, put it together, and then I could always write it in the chat of the 3 children and, the pilot. So, as always, thank you for watching and listening. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts. Make your comments. What do you think is going on with all these small, and it's the small plane crashes of late that's going on? And, with the nightclub, what are your thoughts on that? Just shout out to everyone, family and friends who are grieving. And that's it, gossipers. Thank you for watching and listening.